Hi, my name is Bernd Nussbaumer from macrobeat.co.uk. What a week we had across the global bond markets, which, panic moves on the bond market, falling of global yields, which really set some of the alerts for a global recession, or at least recession in some parts of the world. There's chatter in the US about the inverted yield curve, which usually a recession follows within a year, which I still think are a little bit premature. But I would like to look into some of the asset classes, and then we're going to speak a little bit about what happened in Turkey and the sort of worries we could have as for a contagion for the rest of the emerging markets world. If you go on to slide number 1, we just have a look at the Dow Jones here, which is actually behaving incredibly well. We are still not too far away from the recent highs. We see the trend line support that held now on numerous occasions. And as long as we hold that area, there's probably not much on the downside. We still have a lot of China-US talk hopes that is going on as the US delegation just arrived in Beijing for the next round of talks. And I think this is still what holds up the US equity market at this point. But personally, from all the red lights that are flashing in the bond market, I think at some point in time, that volatility that we see there should really come over into the stock market, and we could see a bigger drop in there. The next chart I'd like to show is the DAX, the German DAX. Here we already broken the 2019 uptrend, which is on the base of all the weakness that we see in Germany. Very weak PMI data last week, and there is a serious concern about Germany entering a recession anytime soon. So that market will or has not benefited from lower German yields, and it's just continued to be very soft. The longer we stay outside of that up channel and are unable to break back inside, I think the risks are increasingly for the downside. The next story I would like to cover is Turkey. This is a chart that shows what can happen when things start to go wrong, which often happen in emerging markets. But we had a big spike in overnight lending rates in Turkey. This chart doesn't even cover everything. I think the overnight rate went as high as short of 1,400%. So this is when the market really starts to panic. If you go over to the next slide, the Turkish stock market obviously seen the same in reverse, a big drop, a big loss of confidence. There's obviously various reasons for that. One is the upcoming elections that we have in Turkey. I don't want to go into too much detail in terms around Erdogan and his party, but there is serious concern or continued concern about the health of the Turkish economy, as well as what else is going on. On the next chart, we would see the one of the causes of what we call a typical bubble. This is the Turkey private credit in percent of GDP. And if you see the time scale, and if you see where we are now, it's the real true worry that this bubble is just about to burst. And what we see out there is really a result of this credit bubble. On the next slide, I just want to show you what happened in dollar Turkey in the last few days. So we had a big blow up last week on Friday where Turkey sold off 5%. We then recovered after some verbal intervention from Mr. Erdogan, threatening FX trader with prison. Don't think that really was the reason for the recovery for Turkey, but we just probably sold off a little bit too much. What we've seen then again is the true concern, and Turkish lira starts to weaken again, and the situation just sort of feels a little bit out of control, especially if we see what happened on the money market, what happened on people trying to swap out their Turkey. And this is when really things start to go horribly wrong and the confidence is completely lost. We have seen a little bit of contagion into the South African rand. Obviously there we're going to have elections in May as well, so there's more worries as well politically. So at this point we see emerging market weakness across the board, but in most areas it's still a little bit contained by just the normal dollar move. But one eye is definitely on Turkey, the other eye might soon come on South African rand, and the contagion could really start to have a little bit of an impact for the emerging markets and risk in general. So that is it from me. Thank you very much indeed. Have a lovely week and see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.